Hey guys, it's Steph here. It's a beautiful morning. My kids are off at school, which is incredible. I have some free time. It's quiet and it's starting to feel like fall, isn't it? I cannot believe it. It's getting a little bit cooler in the morning, but it's still getting quite hot during the day. So it's that funny time of year, which made me want to get on here and do a quick August tour before the month runs out. So it's the end of August. This year's been so weird because we're about a month and a half behind on all of the blooms. Everything kind of started to come out of dormancy a little bit later, but it's looking great. It's been a great year for gardening, one of the best I've ever experienced. We've had so much moisture. It's so not typical for my climate. Usually we don't get a lot of rain during the summer. I'm also getting a bigger itch. I always have an itch to run to the nursery and buy more plants, but it's fall's around the corner, so this is a great time to start planting trees, start planting more of those perennial and shrubs, anything that you want to get in the ground before winter hits. It's a great idea to get them in the ground about 6 to 8 weeks before the freeze hits and it gets really cold, so those roots can get nice and established. Let's walk around. I'll show you what's in bloom. I'll give you a little August tour. This is the southeast corner of my flower bed. Right here is the Kwanzan cherry that has beautiful spring blooms, and so it shades this area until about 1 in the afternoon. So I would consider this a full sun area for this end, just because it gets so much of that intense afternoon heat for about 4 to 5 hours. This might be more of a part shade area back there because the sun doesn't come back here as quick as this area. So but I wanted to tell you a little bit about this flower bed. So you can see that it's right on the road. I'm actually going to kill that strip of grass. We're going to be putting a fence in the front. I'm really excited about that. But we get lots of snow and a lot of cars, so I want to create some privacy, but that snow makes this flower bed quite salty and super rocky, and so I needed some plants in here that can tolerate those conditions. So the first one I have right here is the sedum, the Matrona variety. Sedum is just so great. It is drought tolerant. It holds its moisture in its leaves. This is one of those plants that you could put in the greenhouse, not water them for a very long time, and they'd be just fine. But they're also handling all this moisture. They're an incredibly versatile plant. I love the Matrona variety. It gets about 24 inches tall and 24 inches wide, but they lift and divide so well. You can transplant them in the heat of the summer. Some of them you might think they're dying off, but they grow right back. So I had 5 plants that I bought. I divided them into about 11 or 13 of them, and they were tiny little stems, some of them, and they put on such significant growth. Great for container pots too, because they're cold hardy all the way down to zone 3, so most of us can get by overwintering them in container pots. One more thing about the sedum is they are going to give you that color from late summer all the way until fall, when everything else is starting to fade. And I think they look great even when they're not in bloom. So the next one is this Proven Winners Lemon Squeeze Prairie Grass. I just planted this spring and it is growing incredibly fast, and I love pairing grasses with this sedum. I like the golden color on its leaves. It's doing really good in this part shade area. It likes the morning shade and then the afternoon sun. So I've got a nice drift of those. I am curious to see if this is gonna start everywhere when they drop their seeds. Sometimes grasses can be kind of aggressive that way, so I'm not exactly sure. It's gonna be an experiment, but I'm actually gonna be putting some anchor plants in here, some blue totem spruce. I'm really excited about this blue totem spruce. We've been planting them in some of our projects that I will be highlighting here in a little bit, but it only gets about 3 feet wide and 12 to 15 feet tall. It's not a super fast grower. Funny story with these hollyhocks. My kids pulled them all out when I had them come out thinking they were weeds. I was really sad because I had waited all winter and I was seeing them pop up all spring, and it was gonna be such a nice full tall bed of hollyhocks. I was gonna throw them away, but I thought maybe I'll just stick them back in the ground. Hollyhocks don't typically transplant well. They don't transplant well. Anyway, so this is a great surprise. They're growing. That red color is beautiful. They're not obviously as tall as they normally would be. But right here is that Rudbeckia. I already highlighted it in my recent video, but it's still going strong. You can see all of those bees. My Miss Folly bush is finally coming out. It took forever to come out of dormancy, and it survived a very long winter, very moist winter with tons of snow, so I'm proud of it. This one's gonna get about 4 to 5 feet tall and wide, so it'll fill up this area and be a nice backdrop to these Rudbeckia. I'm gonna put a clematis behind my juniper blue point. Somebody asked me if the deer has been touching this. No, they have not. They haven't touched it at all, but typically by this time of the year, the deer aren't hanging out in my yard too much and they're not super hungry. It's the winter time that really is the true test. It's supposedly deer resistant. I just planted it. And right here, I've got some more grasses that I'm excited about. These are the variegated feather reed Eldorado grass. These get about, let's see, 4 to 5 feet tall. So this is gonna fill in and add some nice texture. I love adding grasses because they add movement and they soften up everything around it. Okay, so my Olivia Austin roses are finally growing. I'm gonna buy 2 more of them and put one right here, and move this Salvia up. So I have a nice mass of them. And then my Salvia that I divided is reblooming. The biggest show obviously is in late spring to summer. This is definitely one of the easiest ones to grow, and I think it's gonna be absolutely gorgeous next spring with all of these roses. So I've got a nice drift of those. My blue globosa spruce, I'm gonna buy 1 more. I've got a nice ground cover for another video that I'm gonna be planting in here. So I'll keep that for a surprise. I'm really excited about this one. And then I'm gonna add 3 tricolor beeches right here. It's a meadow of tricolor beech trees, and this is a shady area. They're gonna love it. Okay, so this area is under the walnut tree, and I planted a Hydrangea, and I know that they like shade, but I was worried this was gonna be too much shade, but this is the second round of blooms. They just like a lot of moisture, and so I've been so impressed with them because I would say it only gets about 2 to 3 hours of dappled sunlight in this spot. Great companion plants to my bare root ferns that are finally taking off. They took forever. I bought them at Lowe's. I was gonna give up on them. I'm glad I didn't because they're finally peeking out. So obviously this isn't much to see. It's gonna take a while to fill in because ferns grow so slow. My Ligularia is in bloom, nice shade plant. Definitely gets eaten by the grasshoppers and the slugs, but I don't really care. Here are my ginkgos. I've got my 3rd one, which I'm so excited about. These are gonna get the most beautiful fall golden color. So excited to see them. I haven't seen it yet, I've just seen them online. It's like a golden buttery color. These are just heat tolerant, disease resistant. They get about 12 to 15 feet tall and only 4 to 6 feet wide. So this is my little meadow of ginkgos. Unfortunately, my black lace elderberry is suffering from verticillium wilt. It's like a fungus in the soil. It's just had too much moisture this year, I think, and they're more prone to it. So I'm gonna be removing this. It was so pretty in spring. So here's an example. You can see it wilting back here. Look at that. That's a good sign that it's struggling with this fungus, and it's really hard to get rid of the fungus, so I'm just not going to deal with it. These grow so fast, you can almost plant them every 3 years and be fine. So I'm really excited to highlight this flower bed because it was a total afterthought. I just threw stuff in here to let it fill in, and it's looking so great now. It took some time, but it's filled in. And I wanted to highlight these strawberry Sunday hydrangeas. I planted them about 2 years ago, maybe 1 or 2 years ago. With time, they'll fill in a little bit more. Look at the size of these blooms that just came out. This is a full sun area. Gets a little bit of dappled shade, and they're doing just fine. So with your panicle hydrangeas, as long as you give them enough water, they can take the heat. And it's starting to turn pink, which I don't typically get a chance to see this happen very often in my climate. They're getting more color than some of my other hydrangeas this time of the year. And I'm really excited to see how these continue to develop over the next couple years. I am kind of wanting to put something a little bit taller in between them, like a 9 bark. Need a little bit of height right here. But these zinnias are the Profusion orange zinnias. My gomphrenias are starting to fill in that I grew in the greenhouse. And then look at these dahlias. Did not order red. I'm just glad these aren't yellow because I hate red and yellow together. I love this variety of dahlias. They're more of the anemone style, and they are a little bit bushier, don't get as big. They don't need staking. They were supposed to have purple leaves. Instead, I've got some red ones and a pink one. This is the right color that I was going for. So I'm definitely going to be saving these for next year, but these are so great to plant at the entrance of like a back porch area or a walkway. I love these dahlias so much. And fortunately, the grasshoppers really haven't discovered them up here yet. So cross our fingers that continues to happen. So here are some of my other annuals. This is some sweet alyssum that loves it right here. Some vinca, my catmint. So your classic cottage flowers. The vinca does really well. I like its dark foliage. It doesn't fill in quite as quickly as I would have thought, so I would have planted double in here so it was nice and lush. I'll know that for next year. If there's one thing I'm learning about annuals this year, because I grew a lot of them, is I am going to buy them bigger next year. If I do buy them smaller, I'm going to plant them much closer together. They just take off so slowly when they're those little plants and they're cheaper. And so it's worth the investment to spend a little bit more And these ones I haven't even fertilized, so I know they'd be doing better if I had done that. Life's so busy. So I'm also leaning towards buying annuals that don't need a lot of fertilizer. So my front yard is a good example of that. They're doing great, low maintenance. I haven't done anything. So this is the time of year with my Incredibles. They've been blooming for a long time. They're putting out so much energy that I am definitely gonna spray them with some fertilizer and put down some more granules. But look at that chartreuse lime. Isn't that incredible? They're so amazing. Even when they're done blooming, they look like they're blooming and they never turn brown, and they'll just stay like this and provide so much winter interest. We're making our way around. The sunlight's kind of harsh right now, so I apologize, but they keep continuing to get more full each day, and they're still blooming like crazy. I think it was about 3 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago that I did a video on this? And so it's probably gonna look a little different to you than it did 2 weeks ago. Just look at the size of that plume. It's ridiculous. I think it's probably 2 feet tall and about a foot wide. So these are great for cutting. Got all of my profusion zinnias. Oh my gosh, what is that bee? I've never seen one like that before. It's got like what in the heck? It's got like a shiny back. Can you guys see that shiny back? I want to get up close. Yeah, that's a new one. Oh, there we go. Shiny. There have been so many bumblebees this year. Okay, the Gumfrina has put on so much height, and then the black and blue Salvia is going crazy. I swear it's grown about a foot a week at this point, and so many blooms are starting to pop out. I get more comments on this black and blue Salvia than any other video that I have, and it's because it is the toughest annual you can grow. It overwinters incredibly, it divides super good, and it puts on so much growth, and pests don't seem to like it. The grasshoppers don't like it. It's just a great annual to put in your yard. Everything's grown a little bit over here. So if you didn't see my other video, this is the Victoria Blue Salvia. This is the white profusion zinnia, the mixed profusion zinnias. And then right here, this is my favorite sweet potato vine that I've grown so far. It's the Red Heart. It stays a little bit more bushy. It gets a little bit more height. And then I love the color, especially when there's some green and then it fades to this purple. And then let's finish off by highlighting my hyacinth bean vine. The best vine to grow, the easiest, the most low maintenance. And then it gets these beautiful blooms. Kind of looks like your sweet peas that I was not successful at growing this year. I kind of gave up on them too early. Once this starts to grow, it just grows rapidly. So it's gonna make its way all the way up there. It's already trying to. And I love the heart-shaped leaves. Well, they're not exactly a heart shape, they're almost a heart shape. Isn't that great with the black and blue Salvia? It is getting really bright and hot. I'm gonna have to go back and change into my summer clothes. This is such a tricky time of the year. This morning, my windows were actually covered with condensation. It's getting a little bit cooler. I had to wipe them off, and then it reminded me that winter is around the corner, and I am not excited about that. So I'm really gonna enjoy the last days of summer and fall as much as I possibly can. I hope you guys are finding some of my videos useful and helpful. If you guys have any questions, please comment down below. I'd love to get back to you. And I just hope you're enjoying your garden so much this year. I hope it's bringing you peace like it does for me. I definitely hope to see you in my next video, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.